even before I discovered the police and prison abolition movements, working in conservation, I would always encounter public agencies that used inmate crews to do a lot of work in parks, restoration work, weed control, maintenance, and that kind of thing. And it always made me deeply uncomfortable. I never liked it. And the way that people I would talk to would justify it, they'd say, well, don't worry, these aren't the dangerous people. You don't have to worry about them. They're near the end of their sentences anyways, or they're nonviolent or whatever. Oh, and it's good job training. Like they can, get a job doing this when they're out. And first of all, if they're nonviolent and they're near the end of their sentences and they can be trusted out in the world with chainsaws and whatever, why don't you just release them? And second of all, I would ask these agency folks, well, have you ever hired someone off of one of these crews when they've gotten out? How many of your staff doing maintenance are a former inmate, used to work on one of these crews learning how to do conservation work, and no one had ever hired one of them. And be like, well, there's not that many positions, it hasn't come up. And it's like, well, yeah, there's no positions because all the work is done by inmate crews.
So this TikToker by the name of Plant Warlock points out something that's absolutely critical to understand, and that is the fact that the United States has never abolished slavery. That's right. The United States has never abolished slavery. What the 13th Amendment was about making slavery only the punishment for a crime. Well, you see, it's really interesting because the United States responded to that in an interesting way. We just created a bunch of nonsense crimes that were specifically used to incarcerate black people. They, of course, then, in the early days, were then rented out to, guess what, the same plantations that had previously owned some of these individuals as slaves. That system is what exists to this very day. And the harsh reality is that there are many people in prison that should not be. People who have non-violent drug offenses, people who have pled guilty to crimes that they did not commit. And the United States has the largest prison population on the entire planet. And the reason for this is very simple. Slave labor is still a central player in the United States economy. We actively go out of our way to incarcerate people in order to make sure that wages are low. This also plays a dual role of making sure that people are disallowed from voting, specifically marginalized people. This system is so embedded into other institutions in society that anytime we talk about redemption for people who have committed nonviolent drug crimes after we've legalized marijuana, there are many governors that freak out and they start saying, well, where are we going to get our firefighters from? Where are we going to get the conservation workers from? And there are even private companies that say, well, where are we going to get these clothing manufacturers from? And that should say everything that needs to be said about American society.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Officer Johnson here with the Columbus Division of Police with this week's Did You Know?
My job didn't make me petty.
Did you know that we are implementing new uniforms?
It's something that I bring to work.
These are what you will see on the streets rolling out. These officers just graduated the academy and they're the first class to be issued these beautiful new uniforms.
This is the police department in my hometown of Columbus, and when they announced that they have a new look and will be wearing different uniforms moving forward, I was going to reply to their tweet and say, you look like $1 million. Because according to a report, the city of Columbus can spend about $4.5 million on police uniforms and body armor. That's 3.5 times the $1.3 million the city spends annually on Celebrate One, a program established by local officials to lower the infant mortality rate, which is particularly high for black women. This was part of the $361 million provided to CPD in 2020, which was more than a third of the almost $1 billion budget of Columbus. The city also spent about $9 million a year just on maintenance and gas. That was $1.5 million more than Columbus spent on affordable housing. There was $2.5 million in the police budget for towing and $457,000 for ammunition, $1.2 million for helicopter maintenance, and $333,000 for helicopter fuel. This same police department who claimed that they needed 6 helicopters to fight crime 2 readily available, 2 backups, and 2 in maintenance, rode out CPD in the sky over inner-city Columbus during a routine helicopter flight. Columbus police looked within itself and found no wrongdoing of itself, by the way. CPD also conceded no wrongdoing when the Columbus City Council voted to pay a $475,000 settlement to a black policeman after the officer, a 28-year veteran, said he faced retaliation for reporting racism and other misconduct by a superior. Carl Shaw was passed over for positions that he was well qualified for, which included the narcotics team, for others that had less seniority. They wouldn't let him compete on the diving team even though he was a collegiate diver in the Navy. Multiple black officers said a sergeant used the N-word and the terms ape and monkey in reference to them. The sergeant, who was also the subject of an investigation for overtime abuse and mishandling of CPD property, was terminated. But for the race-based complaints, he received a written reprimand. Oh, and there was that one time when Columbus police paid out a settlement to one Stormy Daniels for wrongful arrest, and to 32 people who said they were injured during the George Floyd protests of 2020. I would say when the police are patrolling Columbus in their new fits, it's going to turn into an emperor's new clothes type of thing, but instead of us acting like we see uniforms, we'll see dollar signs. I decided against pressing send on that tweet because it was more factual than funny. Plus, I wanted to say all this first, and TYT has a bigger audience than I do. But based on the fact that Casey Goodson Jr. was shot in the back 6 times and killed by a Franklin County Sheriff's Office deputy, which wasn't recorded, and Andre Hill was murdered within 10 seconds of his interaction with Columbus police while holding a cell phone in a non-emergency call, these uniforms will look much better with body cams that are cut on. For Rebel HQ, I'm Jeff Wiggins. My architect knows Japanese. For more from the Young Turks, stay right here. If you want to see content from yours truly, click on the hashtag below. I can also be found on all socials at He Gon' Be Alright. Thanks for watching.